Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus. One more time, I'm standing before you because I have a message of genuineness to bring to you out of love and affection for you by your Creator and to some degree by me. However, I must admit that any love and affection that I have for you is because of a spirit that lives inside of me that have brought me to this point. I had chosen to speak to you on the subject matter of grave importance today. It was to be on the subject manipulated and controlled by money. However, something has happened over the evening that has allowed me to add to that, for which I will after I make a few points. And I'm hoping that you will stay with me throughout this part of the presentation, that you might hear the second part. Manipulated and controlled by money. Who am I speaking of? I'm speaking of the people. You see, the realities of it are such: to have food, to have clothing, to have shelter, to have education, to have health care, some things that are very essential for human survival. One must have money. Now, to get money, one must have a job, whether that job is legitimate or illegitimate. If it produces money, it is because of what that money is used for. We ask the question, what is legitimate? Well, jobs are a result of stealing the resources of the planet. In America and throughout the world, to have a job within the system that is set up, it has to do with stealing the resources of the planet provided by the maker of the earth. And these thieves, claiming themselves as owners of these resources that are used to provide food, clothing, shelter, education, and health care. Now, the labor is provided by those that use the resources. However, to acquire the food, to acquire the clothing, the shelter, education, and health care that the laborers produce, in order to acquire what you, the people, produce, they must be paid money by the legitimate thieves and robbers of the resources provided freely by the maker of the planet. This process makes it possible for the use of money to rob further those that produces the goods and services for the benefit of the illegitimate, or should I say for the benefit of the legitimate crooks. Instead of being paid a flat rate, jobs pay different wages, which permits access to food, clothing, shelter, education, and health care unevenly. This is also a tool that is used to separate and divide the people, creating the haves and the have-nots. Now, the have-nots are forced into a position of exercising illegitimate jobs, and you know what they are: to access money for food, for clothing, for shelter, education, and health care, which has been denied them by the exercise of legitimate thievery and robbery. A system such as this will eventually work itself to a point of totally creating bondage and slavery in pursuit of survival of total freedom by exercising the principles which produce such. A system that creates pain and suffering for many while a cozy life for others is considered unfair and evil. A system that produces justice, equity for all is considered desirable, fair, and good. The system of pain and suffering is a result of ignoring the plan of the maker of the planet and its people, and implementing the ideas of the legitimate crooks instead. The system that produces justice and fairness and equity for all is the result of implementing the plans of the Creator. To achieve this is acknowledged as God's plan, promoted by those that choose the Creator's way over the legitimate crooks. The reason God's plan is not practiced is because it is a foreign language to people that have been taught and trained by the legitimate crooks. Even when those that profess understanding the foreign language, their understanding is shaped by the education, by the system of the legitimate crooks. Now, what is happening is the trick has been to work within the system extreme measures that reflect a fake goodness as well as a lesser fake goodness, causing the people to maneuver between the two for an acceptable means of survival. What is required to take the system to its highest point of abuse to humans is a voice promoting a higher order of fake goodness for fewer people. What is required to take the system to its highest point of true goodness for all is a voice speaking for the Creator to a people that understands the language, a foreign language. Americans have been trained by a system controlled by the legitimate crooks, providing for fake goodness. This makes it acceptable for Donald Trump to promote fakeness for a few people that loves him and would allow him to kill someone and walk away as a justified requirement. Those that speak for God are killed in order to prevent the truth from being known. Religion and churches are allowed to exist as tools of fakeness. They do not serve the mission of God, but rather to support the status quo, evidenced by the success of the most evil U.S. president ever. Religious talk won't change this, for it takes action. Trump holds a rally. Thousands respond to his evilness. The others, for a lesser goodness, advocate the same basic principles as Trump, but less aggravating. They are not impressive when they have no new message. And anyone speaking the foreign language is rejected even by the religious community and the church. 7 times God sent a messenger to the people of the USA. He advocated peace and prosperity and freedom and joy and the fulfillment of dreams. And these for all. 7 times the message was rejected. For the past 10 years, the message is advocated on YouTube and Facebook, where thousands of videos have been produced. In 10 years, not more than 12,000 has been viewed by any of them, and less than 80 subscribers. 99% of its people are dissatisfied, yet they only subscribe to the teachings of the legitimate crooks. They avoid the truth like a crowd scrambling after the blast of a gunshot. This is what we call controlled and manipulated by money. But ladies and gentlemen, on to the other point that I wanted to make. I heard Donald Trump speaking at a rally last night where he said the people have no choice but to vote for him. He represents the biggest evil this nation has ever seen. And he is supported by those who have been taught evil to the highest degree. He is supported by those who have been taught evil by the highest degree, whether they are out of the church, in the church, or whether they are religious or not. They have been taught by the legitimate crooks of what is good. And they support him because they feel that whatever he advocates is good and is the higher good. And so he says that they have no other alternative but to vote for him, because he knows that the others, the Democratic Party, who uses the same playbook that he uses, but to a lesser degree, who have been in power as often as the Republican Party has been in power, and have not come to a standard of living for the human race that would allow them to claim the freedom and the prosperity that each one of them so desire. So basically what he is saying to them is that if you go with the Democrats, you're not going to get any more than what you have gotten in the past. But he's telling those that believe in hate to stick with him. And they have seen no hate yet like the hate they're going to see, and they will benefit from it. And so they're sticking to him like hands in a glove. That is the absolute truth. It doesn't matter. And the main thing that the Democrats seem to be concerned about today is someone that can beat Donald Trump. Someone that can expose the evil and ugliness of Donald Trump and make the people believe that they stand a better chance by giving the Democrats another run. Look at that picture, ladies and gentlemen. It is a very sick picture. Trump is advocating evil to the highest degree, and the Democrats are offering more of the same. How does that look to you? And because I heard Donald Trump say that the people have no other choice but to vote for him, I find myself standing before you today to say that what I have learned in the 7 years, the 7 different times, the 7 different approaches where God has given me a message to bring to you about the freedom, and you ignore it totally like it was French or Russian or Chinese. You had no love for it. And I had taken a seat. But calling myself a child of the living God, telling you that I am an advocate and a spokesman and a servant of the living God, and stand here in America before you and hear this most evil individual who has been taught to be evil. And I myself have been taught to be a lover. I myself have been taught to understand that you do not know the truth. I have been taught to understand that you are a product of your teaching. And this is why the life of heavenliness that God has sent through his message to you 7 different times, you have rejected it. And yet I stand here again before you, and I say to you, I offer myself as representative of God to serve you in the capacity of the next president of the United States of America. My intent is not to rule you. My intent is to advocate the basic principles of love that would produce peace and prosperity and freedom and joy and justice and your dreams. Allowing you to understand that for any of these things to come true, you the people must engage yourselves in them. They are not just going to happen. I am not going to produce them, and God is not going to give them unless you the people decide by choice, this is your will and this is what you want. Now I stand before you to say to everyone who's been taught hate, when it comes down to survival, you want a home, a nice home. You want food and clothing, but you're not the only one. Every human on earth wants that, including every other American, regardless of the color of their skin or the texture of their hair or the color of their eyes or their height or their width. They all want the same things. To progress in life, one needs to be educated. And every last one of you want to progress in life. To be maintained in the living of humankind, you need to be protected with health care. And every last one of you want it because neither of you want to die. That's why you're captured by the liars. Because you've seen him kill those that spoke the truth. But they were killed because they were one. There are 300 million Americans speaking the truth, accepting nothing but the truth. Who's going to kill you? I stand before you, ladies and gentlemen, and I say that my plan is to stand before you and speak the truth to you about life. And I'm not going to ask you for one penny to get this message across. I'm running as a write-in candidate. The evilness of this world that promotes itself through the usage of money is why it is so costly to run for a political office. But I speak to you of a truth that's more pure than diamonds and gold. And it's more exciting than any lottery mega win. And for those of you who can adjust, you can understand this language. You can understand that never again under God's plan. And I say God's plan because I don't know of a human being that has a plan like this. And even though it's in my heart, I'm going to give it to God. I want to give it to some power outside of myself. And the reason I want to give it to some power outside of myself is because I found myself in situations that I could not protect myself. I could not sustain my own life. But right there in the midst of these particular situations, there was an expression that I could not label. I could not say where it came from. It was an invisible force that allowed me to overcome that moment. And I call that power God. And I call the power of love and truth that would benefit every last one of us the way we want to be benefited, coming from a power that we can't see but lives within us. And we demand that nothing separates us from it. And by so doing, we will have the life of heavenliness. We won't talk about dying and going to heaven because we will be living the heaven. I'm not talking about destroying those who are haters. I know why you hate. I'm not talking about destroying those who hate us a little less. I know why you still hate. I'm talking about love. And I know why people love. They love because they've been taught by a different provider. They've been taught by a different language. And they love, but where are they? I'm giving you all a chance, every American, a chance to stand up with God this election. I'm giving every last one of you a chance to stand up for righteousness. I'm giving every last one of you a chance to stand up for the betterment of humankind. I'm giving every last one of you a chance for a new education, an education that will provide for you your substance for survival, that would give you the joys of your heart. I'm standing before you to let you know that the power of creation has also provided that each of you have an access, a pathway to joy. And that joy manifests itself through the execution of your career choice. That in so doing, you play a major role in life itself. You play a major role in creating heaven on earth. And that gives you your greatest joy. And that it is so interconnected that in the process, it creates everything that a man could, and a woman or a human being could ever desire. Not just the infrastructure, not just the beautiful homes, not just the perfect health care, not just the unlimited, unrestricted education, not just the food and clothing, shelter that is available, but all of the things outside that you have engaged yourselves in by the love of truth, by the love of understanding that which is in you and having the access to exercise that. I'm speaking to you about a dream come true. And Donald Trump says you have no other choice but to vote for him. Even though he preaches hate, even though he separates, even though he disregards God totally, and even though he has a rising support base, I stand before you today at this moment in time, and I know right now, as I speak to you, there is one human being in America that is supporting what I have just shared with you. And that individual is me. The evidence is that every American outside of myself who hear me speak of God have never ever supported it in the past. But God, my friends, wants you to have another chance. And so I stand before you today when Trump says the only choice you have is him and his evilness, then God demands that someone stand before you and speak of God's love for you. A love that is not perpetuated by hate, but is perpetuated by you, the people, understanding that your life is wrapped up in the lives of others. Now, you haven't been taught that. God knows that that is a foreign language. And yet, I've been directed to stand before you and give you an opportunity to choose whether you want to continue with Trump. And this thing with the Democratic Party is just getting Trump out of the way and giving you more of the same. I've lived through several presidents of that more of the same stuff. And I want to tell you something. Under those systems, whether it was Republican or Democrats, there were those that were suffering. There was pain, there was hatred, there was bigotry, there was racism, there was starvation, there were homelessness. There, my friends, were unemployment. All under the Republicans and Democratic system. And the Democrats are saying to you, just get rid of Trump and we'll be better than that? What does that look like to you? Trump offers you hell. And hell looks better to at least 35% of the population than what the Democrats are talking about. And the Democrats are frustrated because they know that speaking the same language is not sufficient enough. So what is required? It's something that is as equal in the volume and equal in the power as that of hate. Something that is as powerful and acceptable as that which is said by Trump. Trump is a voice speaking for Satan. I stand before you as a voice speaking for God. Now, many of you might say, well, how can I achieve these things? Well, it's not how I can achieve these things. It's how we, the people, can achieve these things. When we look at what I have just spoken to you about, peace, freedom, prosperity, joy, your dreams coming true. When we speak of that, how do, in your minds, even in your limited thinking, how can that happen? When I speak to you about everybody engaging themselves in the career of choice, that means all of you you benefit from it, so all of you will be working, and the work that you do is the same work that's being done, And the stuff that is being created will continue to be created. And it will be done so in an abundance that everybody can access it because we won't be using money. That is one way. Take money out of the game. But I know many of you cannot see anything that where money does not exist. So maybe you can come up with a different idea. Say like every worker receives $1 million a year, and the prices of everything that has a cost drops, so that $1 million will enable each of you to acquire those essentials that you desire as an individual. That is another option. And maybe there are those of you who can come up with something more proficient and something that's more beneficial for the cause of the human race. But one is God's way, which is all of the resources that we use. Every resource in this earth that we use came to us freely. It was given to us. And every resource that is being made, every resource that has been made that we know of, that have been made manifest, have been done so at the hands of you, the workers, the laborers. You have produced everything. Going to the moon, you produced it. Planes, trains, ships, you produced it. Electricity and its usage. Computers, telephones, you produced it from the resources that God has given. You produced it. Now, why do you have to go in debt to buy it? Except you're being exploited. You are being exploited. Every time you think you might have enough to do a little bit better, the prices go up. And who receives the excess money? Those that you work for. Those who are the legitimate thieves and robbers. And why do I say legitimate? Because they have created rules and regulations, laws and constitutions that says it's okay. They have produced rules and regulations that says it's okay for them to do the things that they do, while at the same time they have produced rules and laws and regulations whereby if you, the people, find yourself having to engage in such an activity, you can go to jail, you can go to prison. And while they try to present themselves as a nation of goodness and a nation of God, every evil thing that you can think of, the nation legitimizes it by saying national security. What that sounds like to me is pure hell. Pure hell by demons, some knowing they're demons, and others think that they're angels. But you're going along with everything that is hell. And so I stand before you today, and I'm glad to be able to say it. I said I would never do this again because I didn't want to be before you. I'd rather be speaking and having fun with the people who want to have fun. But when Trump says that you, the people, got no other choice than to vote for him if you want to go someplace, I, by the power of love and the Spirit of God inside of me, and the love that is for you, the haters, the love for you, the white people, the black people, the fat people, the straight people, the gay people, and the little babies that are being born today, being caught up in that kind of crap? No, my heart won't allow me to do that. But I will run as a write-in, because this, my friends, must be carried forward by you, the people. You, the people, must stand up and demand peace. You must stand up and demand freedom. You must stand up and demand prosperity. You must stand up and demand joy. You must stand up and demand that your dreams come true, and make sure that you do it under the power and spirit of love, meaning for you, but not you only, but for everybody. And in so doing, you qualify the existence of God. Though you can't see him, though you can't touch him, though you can't feel him, you look around and the evidence is there. and all of your dreams are fulfilled. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, I offer myself as an advocate for God's plan of life, so that you, the people, may choose God and what God offers, and not have to accept Trump and what Trump offers. But I want you to know always, the choice is yours. I stand before you as an instrument of God, even though 7 other times you rejected it. What will you do now? I am Eddie Marcus, spokesman and advocate for God's way of life. And as I have said many times before, and I will say now, goodbye.